Imagine cutting down a 150-year-old tree only to discover something lurking inside. Something you have never expected. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe. Like the video and smash the notification button for more exclusive stories. When Jack saw the ancient chestnut oak towering alone in the woods, its bark weathered and its branches slowly withering, he knew this was the one he was looking for. The foreman had given him the freedom to pick any tree in the sector. But Jack wasn't just looking for any tree. He was determined to prove himself. This was a test of his strength, his skill, and whether he could handle the tough work of logging. The tree stood tall, easily over 150 years old, and cutting it down would show everyone what he was made of. Jack was determined to show his skills and abilities. With a firm grip on his sharp axe, Jack immediately got to work. Each swing sent a satisfying crack through the air as the blade bit into the thick bark. It felt good, like the rhythm of the forest was pulsing through his arms. He craved out a wedge, working methodically until the tree finally groaned and toppled over with a deafening crash. Jack stepped back, catching his breath, feeling the thrill of triumph rush through him. He knew the foreman, Patterson, would be so proud and impressed by this. As the dust began to settle, Jack started clearing the branches, his mind already focused on the next step. That's when he noticed something extremely unusual, a hollow just near the top of the tree. His curiosity and youth got the best of him, and he crouched down to take a closer look. "Hello, anyone home?" he called playfully, his voice echoing strangely inside the hollow trunk. But then something anomalous happened that made Jack's heart stop for a second. From the dark depth of the tree, a pair of glowing eyes blinked back at him. Jack stumbled backward, his pulse racing. What had he just seen? The forest around him was eerily quiet, and with the other loggers away on their lunch break, he was completely alone. Panic surged through him, and without thinking, he took off running, his legs carrying him as fast as they could. He didn't stop until he reached a familiar door of Mr. Alf Stone, the old logger who has been mentoring Jack for the past couple of years. Out of breath, Jack spilled the whole story to Alf. The massive oak he had taken down, the hollow in the trunk, and the eerie eyes that had stared back at him. Alf, always calm and curious, listened carefully without interpretation. When Jack told him the whole story, he asked him to take him to the oak tree. When they arrived, Alf shone his light deep into the hollow, and what they saw left Jack speechless. Wedged inside the tree was the mummified remains of a dog, perfectly preserved, its eyes hauntingly intact. Alf scratched his head, muttering, "Well, how'd it get in there?" As the other loggers returned, they gathered around the tree, their voices buzzing with shock and excitement. Someone suggested calling Dr. Wendy Breams, the local arborist who had studied the region's trees. Dr. Breams arrived later that day, carefully examining the bizarre discovery. She explained that the dog had likely been stuck inside the tree for decades, maybe even a century or more. Ti Tree had secreted tannic acid, which preserved the dog's body in a remarkable way. Jack's discovery wasn't just a fluke, it was a scientific marvel. The loggers realized this tree was no ordinary piece of timber. Over the next few days, arrangements were made to send the entire tree trunk, with its strange and grisly contents, to the Southern Forest World Tree Museum in Georgia. The preserved dog became the museum's star attraction, drawing visitors from far and wide. A contest was even held to name the dog, and Stucky became the winning choice. As for Jack, his life changed from that day forward. His accidental discovery gained attention, and with Dr. Bream's help, he earned a scholarship to study forestry. Jack left the logging camp behind, but the memory of the chestnut oak and the secret it held stayed with him forever. Years passed, and one day, an elderly man named Zeke Thomas visited the museum with his retirement group. As he approached the exhibit displaying the dog in the tree trunk, his breath caught in his throat. He stared at the mummified remains, and tears filled his eyes. The dog in the tree, Stucky, looked exactly like his old hunting companion, Red, who had vanished 4 decades ago during a coon hunt. Zeke had searched everywhere, but Red had simply disappeared. Today, standing in front of the tree, Zeke realized what had happened all those years ago. Red had chased a raccoon up to a tree and had somehow gotten trapped inside. The mystery of his disappearance had haunted Zeke for years, and here, in this museum, it was finally solved. Jack's discovery had become more than just an extraordinary find, but it was a bridge between the past and the present, solving a mystery that spanned generations and capturing the imagination of all who came to see it. The preserved dog wasn't just a piece of history, it was a reminder of the strange, powerful connection between the natural world and the lives entwined within it. What do you think of today's story? Comment your thoughts down and don't forget to subscribe, like the video and share it with your fellows. See you in the next video.